What's up, my friends, and welcome into a Friday edition of the PHLY Phillies podcast. As always, we are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. It is the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier, and hello to you, whether you're watching live here on the YouTube channel or you're going to check back later and watch it on YouTube as well, or you can check us out on our podcast platforms. Thanks so much for finding us, whichever way you find us. Of course, we are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use the promo code up above my left shoulder. PHLY365. Deposit $10. Place a bet for $5. And now you'll get $200 back in bonus bets, whether your bet wins or loses. Welcome into the PHLY Phillies podcast. We have made it to the end of another work week. And not only the end of another work week, but the start of a 3-day holiday weekend. Not 2 days off this weekend. 3 days off this weekend. And after the roller coaster of emotions that the Phillies have put me through over the last 72 hours or so, I feel like I kind of need that extra day. I feel like probably a lot of us feel like that we need that extra day. Now, I know that Labor Day for a lot of people is a sign of the kind of unofficial end of summer, which is something that makes me very, very sad because I love the summer months. I love baseball. I love being warm. And I know that that means fall and winter are right around the corner, but it also means that we are one step closer to playoff baseball across the major league level. We have just over 25 games left. I believe it's 27 after tonight. And we'll figure out how the Phillies stack up over the next month or so as we get into the month of September. But here's what we've got on the docket for you for the PHLY Phillies podcast today. Of course, we are going to start today's episode by discussing Kyle Schwarber's night last night. A 4-home run night. We'll dive into the numbers, what it meant to the Phillies, how it could not have come at a better time after the Mets series over the week. Later on in the show, in about 15 minutes or so, we'll sit down and I had a chance to catch up with our buddy Jim Salisbury earlier this morning. So we chatted for about 20 minutes as two baseball nerds would do, and we kind of got into a plethora of different topics, including Schwarber's night, his MVP case, a couple of different players last night that maybe got a little bit overshadowed who had good nights. And then we're going to finish up today's episode with a conversation surrounding the center field position. And maybe the Phillies finally have an everyday center fielder. We'll, of course, do all of that while we check in on our Friday afternoon standings. We do that with our Cranking the Heat segment. But we begin today's PHLY Phillies episode with our big takeaway segment. And our big takeaway segment, of course, as always, is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. With Xfinity, the Wi-Fi is booming, and I don't think we have to dig too deep to figure out what the big takeaway of the day is. Kyle Schwarber is him. He is that dude. He's whatever other lingo you want to use that I'm starting to feel like I don't have a say in anymore. But before we do that, thank you, Andrew, for flashing that up. I apologize. Let me tell you about our Diehards sale. A limited time offer, $36 gets you in for a year. Normally, it costs almost $80, but $36 with our football club special. The Birds and the Boys, just a couple of days away. You get an awesome t-shirt. That Bird Gang t-shirt is sweet. And, of course, you get access to all of our diehard stuff, like our written content, premium written content, our Discord. I was talking to Rick, who is very active in our Discord today. We had a lot of baseball conversation. So you can do that for just $36 for a limited time by becoming a diehard here at PHLY. All right, let's get back to Kyle Schwarber with our big takeaway segment brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. As I said, let's reset that. Pretend that first part didn't happen because I didn't do my job. Andrew was on top of his job, but I sucked at my job. Kyle Schwarber is him. He's that dude. Because last night, after the Phillies had a difficult road series, and I think difficult might be underselling it. Difficult might be understating how disastrous the series was against the Mets. And we talked about it yesterday. It was a really bad series where nothing went right. Starting pitching was okay, but there was a lot of cracks throughout the series. Your top 4 hitters really struggled, including Kyle Schwarber, who was 0 for 11 in the series against the Mets and was 0 for 20 in his last 6 games. There was no question about it. This team needed an infusion of life. They needed an injection of some kind to provide a spark. And they needed to do it quickly. And they got that in the result that you saw last night, a 19-run outburst, which was headlined by Kyle Schwarber's 4-home run night. Kyle Schwarber becomes just the 21st player in Major League Baseball history to hit 4 home runs in one game. And in fact, he had an opportunity to become the first player ever to hit 5 home runs. Unfortunately, Vidal Brujan was pitching. He was throwing meatball, lob, ephus pitches. And you can tell, Phillies were up a bunch. They sent Kyle Schwarber up to the plate in the 9th inning there, or in the bottom of the 8th, with one thing in mind, which was try to become the first player ever to hit 5 home runs, because he swung out of his shoes at a pitch that was 51 miles an hour. He popped it up. JT Realmuto booed him from the dugout, and it was a jovial, lighthearted moment because the Phillies were up big. And you got to have that moment because the Phillies were up big. But let's not understate the night that Kyle Schwarber had, where he became the first Philly since 1976, talking about almost 50 years since Mike Schmidt did it, to hit 4 home runs in one game. He becomes just the 4th Philly ever to hit 4 home runs in one game. Again, joins the likes of Mike Schmidt and Ed Delahanty. I mean, it's a pretty good company to be in. But it's been almost 50 years since a Philly has hit 4 home runs in one game. He becomes the 3rd player this year to hit 4 home runs in one game. Eugenio Suarez did it for the Diamondbacks early in the season. Nick Kurtz did it about a month ago for the Athletics. But not only does he do this, not only has he become the 21st player ever to hit 4 home runs in a game, he also is tied for the 3rd most RBI in a game in a 4 home run game, with 9. An unbelievable performance. He ties, surprisingly enough, if you would have given me 100 guesses to figure out who he tied for 3rd, it's 2 players, there's no chance I would have gotten either of them. It was Scooter Gennett. Remember him? Remember he had a flash in a pan with the Brewers the one year and then the Reds the following year and then was kind of gone very quickly. And it was Mark Whiten. If you'd have given me 1,000 guesses, I probably wouldn't have gotten those 2 guys. So it was a really historic night for the Phillies. They scored 19 runs. Every player in the starting lineup had a hit. They poured it on from a multitude of different angles. And what this did last night was cement Kyle Schwarber into the MVP conversation. He was already there. Most places have him somewhere between 2nd and 3rd. Basically, in the National League MVP conversation. I think it's a 3-player race. I think it's Shohei Ohtani. I think it's Kyle Schwarber. And I think it's Pete Crow Armstrong. But I think what Kyle Schwarber did last night was start to put a little doubt in the Shohei Ohtani truthers. Now, granted, Shohei Ohtani is having an unbelievable season once again. Maybe not as good as he was a season ago, where he stole 59 bags, hit 54 home runs, led Major League Baseball in WAR, runs, home runs, RBIs, OBP, slugging, OPS, OPS plus, total bags, and it's a reason why he won the MVP pretty convincingly. Still having a heck of a year. He's currently leading the National League in runs scored with 123. He's leading them in the league in slugging and OPS plus once again, and total bags for that matter. His stolen base number has come down pretty sizably, but everything else, he's right on track to basically have the same year that he's had last year. His average is down 30 some odd points. His OBP's down a little bit, but he's already walked more than he had last year, 89 walks to 81 walks. He has 45 home runs over 131 games. He's on pace for 51, 52 in that range, and he's on pace for about 100 or so RBI. But Kyle Schwarber, after last night, if he wasn't already in the conversation, which I think he should have been, but there's no question in my mind at this point. Not only is Kyle Schwarber in the MVP conversation, but I think there is a chance that Kyle Schwarber could win the National League MVP. His 49 home runs leads the National League. He's 4 now ahead of Shohei Ohtani. He's 2nd across Major League Baseball only to Cal Raleigh, who, by the way, has a very legitimate chance and very well could win the American League MVP. He is having the greatest season in terms of power from the catching position in the history of Major League Baseball. So that's who he's going up against when it comes to the power productivity, is Cal Raleigh, who very likely is going to win or is going to place in the American League Cy Young conversation. It's pretty much him or Aaron Judge at this point. His 110, talking back to Kyle Schwarber, his 110 RBI leads Major League Baseball. No one is better in that category than Kyle Schwarber. And yes, I know that Kyle Schwarber's batting average is 30 points lower than Shohei Ohtani. He's hitting 248. Shohei Ohtani is hitting 278. I totally understand that. I also know that Kyle Schwarber's OBP and slug and OPS are lower than Shohei Ohtani's, but they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. OBP 370, slugging 586, OPS 956, OPS plus 156. He himself has 293 total bags, which, by the way, are the most of his major league career. Let's take a look at some of the other things that Kyle Schwarber has already passed his major league career highs for. Thinking about runs scored, not quite there just yet. He needs about 18 more. Maybe he's going to get there. He needs 9 more doubles to reach his career high. Home runs, he's already surpassed it. His 49 are a career high. His career high before that was 46. He did that his first year with the Phillies. 119, excuse me, I said 110. That was before yesterday's game. His 119 RBI are still league leading, and it's a career high by a lot. His career high was set tied last year. He had 104 each of the last 2 seasons. He now has 119 RBI. If you want to add stolen bases to the mix, he's tied his stolen base career high with 10. For a guy who's not the fleetest of foot, he's now hit double-digit stolen bases for just the second time in his career. His strikeout numbers are down a little bit. Struck out 197 times last year. That was the fewest he struck out as a member of the Phillies. He's gone 200, 215, 197. He's now down to 156. He's probably going to get to about 180 or 185, but it still is very likely going to be a Phillies tenure low. His batting average amongst his time with the Phillies is his best as a member of the Phillies, or tied with last year at 248. His on-base percentage, the best as a member of a Philly, as the member of the Phillies. His slug, his best as a member of the Phillies by a lot. 586 is his slug right now. His season high as a member of the Phillies, 504. His OPS, same thing, over 100 points higher than his Phillies tenure high, which was last year at 851. He's at 956. The point of this whole conversation is the season that Kyle Schwarber is having should not and cannot be understated, because there is a very real chance, there is a ton of validity to the fact that Kyle Schwarber is having an MVP caliber season. Now, I asked Jim Salisbury, I'm going to kind of give you a sneak peek into the conversation that he and I had earlier this morning. How does it compare to Ryan Howard's 58 home run MVP season in 2006? Does Kyle Schwarber get to 58 home runs? I'm not sure that he does. He still has to hit another 9. Can he hit 9 over 28 games? Without question. Does he do it? Maybe, maybe not. But you're talking about being only the second player ever in Phillies single season history to get to the 50 home run plateau. He'll do that next with his next home run. Now, the big differentiator, I think, for Ryan Howard compared to Kyle Schwarber was Schwarber still needs 30 RBI to catch Ryan Howard's 149. But the biggest separator, I think, for these two guys, Ryan Howard hit 313 in 2006. I think that we forget how good Ryan Howard was at his peak, because it was a small peak. It was probably 4 or 5 years. But you go from the guy that won the Rookie of the Year in 2005, while only playing 88 games, mind you, to a guy who for 4 straight years hit no less than 45 home runs and had no less than 136 RBI and had no less than 309 total bases. That's how good Ryan Howard was, and I think he is starting to maybe, like a generation removed, starting to maybe fall through the cracks a little bit for non-Phillies fans. And I want to be the guy that reminds you that Ryan Howard's peak was better in a 4-year sample size than the 4 years that Albert Pujols put together in that same time frame, was the 4 years that Miguel Cabrera put together in that same time frame. It was an elite 4-year run for Ryan Howard. So does Kyle Schwarber match up to the 2006 Ryan Howard season? Not quite, but it's been a darn good year. Markel Futz says he's getting to 62. I don't think he's hitting another 13, but if he does, Markel Futz, I will give you your props and shout you out. I think he hits probably another 7 or 8. And if he hits another 7 or 8, he's going to finish his season with 56 or 57 home runs. It's not outside the realm of possibility that Kyle Schwarber at the end of the season is the Phillies single season home run leader. I don't think he's going to do it, but it's very realistic at this point because of this 4 home run night last night. And that's our big takeaway of the day, which is brought to you by our friends over at Xfinity. The Wi-Fi is booming with Xfinity. Get locked in with a 5-year price plan guarantee. What a night for Kyle Schwarber. And before we hit the break and before we have our conversation with our buddy Jim Salisbury, I want to welcome our second member of today's program. That's Andrew Frazier, our producer, our co-host. I know you guys talked about it on the show today, Andrew. I'm there somewhere. I'm there in spirit. I'm the ghost of Christmas past. I know we talked about, you guys probably talked about it a lot today on the Anthony Gargano show. What a night from Kyle Schwarber when the Phillies needed it most after the 3-game skid that they had in New York.
Oh, man.
There you are. There I am.
There we go. Fixed up. Ready to go. Man, what a night. What a showing. What a man. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better.
Unbelievable night.
What a comeback from such a poor performance out there in New York to come back in front of your fans, in front of your crowd, and put on a show like you did. Kyle Schwarber to play the way that he did. Aaron Nola to let up three in the first. Everybody's on the edge of their seat thinking, here we go.
Command was bad in the first, and, man, he settled in really nicely.
He found a way, man, to get himself back into that game, and he killed it. I mean, I think he averaged like 11 pitches an inning after that, which was incredible. Yeah, man, I'm pleasantly pleased that last night happened because that team really needed it.
I also want to add on to the fact you bring up Nola.
Yeah.
The maybe unsung conversation of last night's game belongs to Harrison Bader, who was a home run shy of the cycle.
Yeah.
And on any other given night, he would have been the storyline, right? The cycle watch was on.
100%.
And it was storyline like 3, and it almost felt like it didn't matter because of the night that Schwarber had. But Harrison Bader deserves his flowers for last night.
Oh, definitely.
Just an all-around really fun night last night. And I think bounce back in a big way. You and I talked about it yesterday and on Wednesday. We haven't even dived into the numbers that the Phillies have had against Cal Quantrill this year. You want to talk about a single individual get-right pitcher? Cal Quantrill's number against the Phillies in 3 starts have been awful this year.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about it as we have some time. But it's the PHLY Phillies podcast, a really fun night for the Phillies and for Kyle Schwarber, making history, becoming the 21st player all-time to hit 4 home runs in 1 game. On the other side, we caught up with our buddy Jim Salisbury. We'll have a chance to check in with him as we talk about last night. He was down at the ballpark, talk about the atmosphere, talk about this team and what they're what they're capable of. We talked to he and I and Andrew, you and I had this conversation the other day. It was funny to see this team basically play its best and worst series in a week span. We'll talk more about it on the other side. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. And we will be right back after this. All right, you know that moment, that one where you realize that your favorite sunglasses are nowhere to be found. Where'd you leave them? The beach, the boardwalk, the amusement park. Summer's coming to an end, but that doesn't mean you can't sneak in your last couple of fun days of summer right here on this Labor Day weekend. But put a little damper on the week because you lost your shades. Well, with Shady Rays, you don't have to worry about that because they offer you an incredible protection plan. Every pair of shades is backed by a lost or broken replacement guarantee. Shady Rays comes in incredible different options. They're polarized lenses, crystal clear frames, just an unbelievable look. They're sleek, they're durable, and they don't break the bank. You can head on over to shadyrays.com, use the promo code PHLY for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses, and you're going to get a pair that you're going to love and one that you can wear with confidence because you don't have to worry about, if I lose this pair, I'm out of money, or I'm out of I lost my favorite pair of sunglasses. Shady Rays wants to work with you. That's how awesome of a company that they are. Again, head on over to shadyrays.com. Use the code PHLY for 35% off a pair of polarized sunglasses. And try for yourself the shades that are rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Bet365, because whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Find out why 90 million users worldwide have gotten in with Bet365. They are the pioneers of live in-game betting. Well, last night's game, you probably don't want a live in-game bet, because after a while, unless you wanted to get a live in-game bet after the top of the first where your hometown boys were down 3-0, and then all of a sudden they bounced back and scored 19 of the next 20 runs in the game. Could have done that. You'd have gotten much better odds and lines than what you would have gotten at the start of the game for your hometown Philly squad. So that's why you live bet all the time with our friends over at Bet365. And with Bet365 early payout offer, if your team in MLB goes up by 5 runs at any point, you're going to get an instant payout on straight bets and parlays that are marked as winners. And now new customers can get $200 back in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. Sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10, place a bet for $5, and you get $200 back in bonus bets, whether that bet wins or loses. You could use that bonus bet money on spreads, totals, player props, futures, and so much more. And that's why, whatever the moment, it is never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 and physically located in PA. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Earlier this morning, I had a chance to catch up with our buddy Jim Salisbury, whose articles you can read at allphly.com. You know him. You love him. We chatted about a bunch of different things, but the conversation surrounded last night's game and Kyle Schwarber. Here's what we had to talk about with Jim Salisbury earlier this morning on the PHLY Phillies podcast. All right, joining us now on the Xfinity mobile call-in line, our friend, the great baseball scribe, Jim Salisbury. Jim, pretty routine night at the ballpark last night, right? Nothing crazy happened.
Nothing crazy, except one of the more memorable nights I've ever had in that yard, right up there with, Jimmy Rollins against Broxton and Roy Halladay, no-hitter in the playoffs against Cincinnati. And, of course, Bedlam at the bank. I don't know. Bedlam at the bank be awfully hard to top. But, this was in the rare air of memorable nights at Citizens Bank Park. 4 home runs. Crazy.
Special night, no doubt about it. It was funny, too, because I think my feed was a few seconds behind, and the Phillies Twitter account tweeted, LOL. And I kind of just knew that the 4th home run might come into play. But Kyle Schwarber becomes the 21st player in the history of the game to hit 4 home runs in one game, the first Philly to do it since Mike Schmidt back in 1976. So you brought up, the electricity of the ballpark. I think a really good place to start. What was that moment like? The lead up to it, him walking up to the plate, the maybe unintentional time call by Drake Baldwin to give you a little bit extra breathing room. What was the situation in the moment like at Citizens Bank Park last night?
Kind of, to me, Tyler, it was sort of a 8-inning mini series, because they fall down 3-0 in the top of the first. Nola gives up 3, and we're starting to hear some boos. Also heard an Eagles chant, and coming off what just happened in New York, you're like, oh no, here we go again. And then in the bottom of the first inning, their comeback starts. I mean, they score 5 in the bottom of the first inning, all on home runs. Well, Schwarber hits the first one, so he gets this comeback going. After a poor first inning, after a poor showing in New York, he sort of starts to turn the tide. And then, and then he hits a second one, and then he hits a third one. And now the people are really getting into it. And, the drama is building. They want to see a 4th one, and then he just clobbers one to right field. So the energy picked up, really, I'd say, with every at bat. I mean, whenever a team gets 20 hits and scores, 19 runs like that, the crowd is going to be into it. They're going to be electric the whole night. People love to see offense, but it built and built and built like a kind of a wave leading up to that 4th home run, because that's unbelievable. And then in the bottom of the 8th, he comes up with a chance to get number 5, and unfortunately, he's facing a guy throwing 57 miles an hour, and after facing 90 plus all night, that's going to mess up your timing. He pops it up, but the atmosphere was great. The atmosphere was really great. People knew they saw something special from a player that they really. I think this town really loves Kyle Schwarber. Over 4 years, he's become an iconic Philly, in my opinion, and really the place embraces him, and he embraces the fans right back. So it was kind of a give and take. Kyle Schwarber provided it, and the fans gave the love back. It was really special to be there.
So kind of a ceremonious way to break out of an 0 for 20, because it was a rough,
Oof.
5 or 6 game stretch for Kyle Schwarber going hitless in that Mets series. But you bring up kind of the love that's mutual between the city and Kyle Schwarber. I think everybody in the city would love to have Kyle Schwarber back on another long-term deal, or whatever long-term feels like over the next couple of years. Um, to you, what kind of sense are you getting as the season kind of comes to an end? We get closer and closer to his free agency. What kind of sense are you getting about a potential reunion or return to Philly for the next contract for Kyle Schwarber?
My sense is, they have three big free agents: Schwarber, Real Muto, Ranger Suarez. My sense is the organizational concentration right now is totally on winning a World Series, and that's where I think it should be. They'll deal with these matters after the season. I don't think there's any chance, or a very slim chance, that Kyle Schwarber leaves. I think front office, right up to the ownership level, they know how important this guy is in the batter's box, on the field, intangibly in the clubhouse. What he's done over 4 years, as I mentioned, becoming an iconic Philly, impacting so many victories. Let's not forget, they were on a 10-year postseason drought before he came here. They've been to the postseason. They're going to be there 4 years in a row with him here. He's provided a lot of electric moments. He's helped his team win a lot of ball games. The Phillies, Tyler, are over 4 years 110 and 45. 110 and 45 when he hits a home run. Now,
Wow.
you're always going to be better when somebody hits a home run. I don't care who it is. You score runs, it helps you win games. But that's a pretty remarkable stat, 110 and 45. And I think he's going to age well because his bat speed is good. He's a
Sure.
DH. He's not on his feet a lot. Um, I think he's going to be a productive hitter well into his 30s. He doesn't try to do too much. His focus, especially after hitting 200 a couple years ago, he was embarrassed. He went to work, and he prioritized contact and hitting the ball hard up the middle. You do that, you take that approach, and you're that strong, the home runs are going to happen. So I believe the front office knows how valuable he is, and I certainly believe ownership knows how valuable he is. John Middleton is a guy who listens. He's a businessman, and a good one. He listens to his customers. I mean, he sees the night after night love affair with this guy. He sees the fannies in the seats. He knows it makes winning sense. He knows it makes business sense. I don't think there's any chance in hell Kyle Schwarber goes anywhere else. I think he's right back here. What does the contract look like? I don't know. I guess the dollar signs are
Blank
continuing
check.
to. I don't know if it's that, but I'd certainly say it begins with a 3, and
Mhm.
maybe 30, 31, 32 per year times 4 years. Maybe you have to go another year to get him off the market. I don't know. But to me, 32 times 4 sounds like a pretty good deal for both sides. So we shall see. But I fully expect him to be right back here next year.
So he's now at 49 home runs, second in baseball only to Cal Raleigh, 110 RBI, first in baseball. In your opinion, when it comes to the MVP conversation, he's cemented himself very clearly in the conversation. I think it probably comes down to him, Shohei Ohtani, P. Crow Armstrong's probably still in the conversation as well. In your estimation, where does he stack up in this NL MVP race?
Right now, I think he's about neck and neck with Ohtani. I tend to I look at the middle name of the award, most valuable player, and a lot of people, some people look at it differently, and that's fine. I respect all opinions and how people frame it up in their own mind. But to me, it's not the best player. It's not the guy with the best numbers. It's not the player of the year. It's the most valuable player, the guy that lifts his team on a night and night out basis. The guy whose team wouldn't be where it is if you took him off it. The guy who's indispensable. And I think Ohtani is right there for the Dodgers. I mean, they've been banged up, and I think Schwarber is right there for the Phillies. I think you took either one of them off these teams, they wouldn't be the same. But look, we're close to Schwarber geographically. We see it every night.
Sure.
The way he lifts this team in the lineup, and the way he lifts this team intangibly. Um, he's a great teammate, and he supports his young teammates. He's there for them. I just wonder how many nights a guy might have had a good game or a good week because Kyle Schwarber supported them. And you look at performances like last night. It jacks his home run total up to 49. He's one off Cal Raleigh. I mean, that's amazing. But time and circumstance, when that victory came and when that performance came, led to a much needed victory because the previous day they were in a very low spot.
Mm-hmm.
They had just been swept by a division opponent that who just took a big bite out of their division lead. This was a huge win. He wasn't stepping up for a team, 19 games out in September and hitting 4 home runs. He was stepping up for a team in the heart of a pennant race, and delivering a much needed victory and getting the team back on track after a really difficult time. So he is really a leavening agent for this team. He lifts them, night after night. I know he was 0 for 20, and that to me just adds more to it. How you can just come out of an 0 for 20 and an 0 for 11 in New York and just turn it right around. So I think it's going to be a fascinating vote. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I think there's merit to both candidates, but what's there, 5 weeks left in the season? We'll see how it all shakes out here. But Kyle Schwarber, in my mind, has had an MVP season, whether he wins it or not.
So I've used the word catalyst like probably for 2 or 3 years now to describe Kyle Schwarber, whether he was hitting in the leadoff spot, hitting second, hitting fourth. I think that, you laid it out really well there. He is kind of the straw that stirs the drink for this team. He is the catalyst for their productivity. So I kind of want to now put it into perspective because he may or may not get to the 58 home run mark set by Ryan Howard, but he's 9 shy with about 27, 28 games left to play. Whether he gets there or not, how do you kind of assess Schwarber's season comparably to Ryan Howard's 2006 MVP season when he hit 58 home runs?
Wow. 49 home runs, 58 home runs. I mean, Schwarber's going to get to 50. He's going to get over 50. It's the second most home runs ever in Phillies history. Other than saying they're both phenomenal, great seasons, Howard won the MVP that year, right? 06?
Yes.
I think they're very comparable. Whether or not Kyle wins the MVP and kind of equalizes them, very comparable. The Phillies did not get to the postseason in 06. They were sort of getting closer and closer every year. Howard's growth as a player and his productivity helped them get to where they wanted to eventually go and eventually got 2 years later. But either way, you're looking at greatness and you're looking at two players who lifted the whole team. I'm always asked who was the most important guy, Utley, Rollins, or Howard. You could debate that till the cows come home. But again, they all brought different things. You take Howard's big bat out of the middle, they're a different team.
Sure.
You take Schwarber's season out, they're a different team. So they're both gold star seasons. I don't know that I can give, right now, Ryan won the MVP. He hit 58. That might be, a cut above. But Schwarber's going to take this team to the postseason. And that's worth something too, because that's the reason you play, to win championships.
So, you mentioned a little bit ago about kind of the need for yesterday and to kind of break out of a little bit of a slump. It was a rough 3-game stretch against the Mets, and you come out and you put up a 19 spot, and it looked like, everybody in the lineup had at least one hit, a lot of RBI production, of course. Outside of Kyle Schwarber, I think the two guys that, are worth having a conversation about in yesterday's game were Aaron Nola and then Harrison Bader, who was a home run short of a cycle and probably won't have much conversation because of the Kyle Schwarber night. But let's start with Nola, and then we can kind of talk about Bader a little bit as well. Rough first inning, as you mentioned, gives up the 3 runs. Command didn't look particularly sharp. From the ballpark, what did you see after that first inning that kind of allowed him to settle in and end up giving you 6 quality innings? He gave up just 1 more run the next 5. What did you see from the ballpark that kind of allowed him to settle in after that rough first inning?
Yeah, I saw a little command issue in the first inning. I think he was squeezed a couple times, maybe on the second or third batter of the game, but hey, that happens. I saw a guy who got better and better with each inning. I saw a guy whose efficiency improved with each inning. Now I know he wasn't facing, the tremendous Braves team. They've been banged up, but there's still a couple of pretty good bats in Olson and Acuna and Ozuna. But after he threw 37 pitches in the first inning, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's going to be out of there quick. He ended up giving him six innings, which was very big. And the second inning he was 10 pitches, then he was 11 pitches, then he was 10 pitches. He really became more efficient. He really began to pound the strike zone. It kept his pitch count down. That allowed him to go into the middle innings. The offense gave him some support. I think whenever you get offensive support, it gives you a little more margin for error. I think you relax and you're able to execute better. And I think that's what we saw in Aaron Nola. So I thought it was a positive especially the way he got it together after a really tough first inning, the way he rebounded, the way he was able to pull himself out of a spiral that could have, bounced him from the game really early. And if that happens, now we're all like, oh gosh, what's going on with Aaron Nola? Instead, he's put together two pretty good starts out of three since being off the IL. And he remains to me a crucial player in the rest of this season and in the postseason. He's been here a decade, and never has this team needed him more after the loss of Zach Wheeler for a lot of reasons. They need his veteran stability. They need his pitching prowess. They need his right hand and a right arm in a lefty dominant rotation. They need him to be as good as he's ever been because of the loss of Wheeler. Sure. This would allow if he can pitch good enough to secure a spot in the postseason rotation. I think that's still a decision down the road. Got to see how he does these next 5 weeks. But if he can get into that starting rotation, and now that might allow you to use a guy like Luzardo and his firepower in the bullpen, I think that would be a good thing for the team. So, but look, huge loss with Zach Wheeler. He was the guy you're going to give the ball to in game one. Now you're going to give it to Christopher Sanchez. Really could use Aaron Nola. I don't know if he'll ever be vintage Nola again. I mean, he's used a lot of bullets. He's logged a lot of innings, logged a lot of miles. But boy, if he's going to be good for 5 or 6 weeks, couple months going into the postseason, it would be great if it happened now. Like I said, he has never been more important to this team.
And then last guy, just alluded to him a little bit, is Harrison Bader. 4-hit night last night, home run shy of the cycle. In his 22 games with the Phillies, he has 21 hits now. He's hitting .313. OBP is almost at 400. Slug is almost at 900 since joining the team. I think that obviously the timeshare situation, the platoon situation between he and Max Kepler and Brandon Marsh and maybe Nick Castellanos a little bit in that conversation over the last couple of weeks or so. When it comes to Harrison Bader specifically, are we getting closer to him potentially being maybe not truly, but maybe nominally the everyday center fielder for this team come, the rest of the 28 games and into the postseason?
I think that was the goal. That was the goal when they acquired him at the trade deadline. And yes, it's really trending that way. And it's trending that way for the best of all reasons. He has produced and he has performed and he's earning it. You look what he did last night. He's outstanding defender. We can all see it with our eyes. He gets to pretty much everything up the middle. We know how important defense is, especially when you get into the postseason and every out is magnified. I go back to Game 5 of the World Series against Houston. That game turned on defense. Chas McCormick and
Sure.
Who was the kid? The first baseman
Trey Mancini, right?
Trey Mancini, the kid came from Baltimore. McCormick and Mancini make huge defensive plays to save runs for Houston, and Rhys Hoskins doesn't make a play that leads to a run. So that series turned on defense. So defense is so important in the postseason.
I think you saw it last year too in the World Series. The Yankees defense was not good in the World Series. Not good. It was a separator.
Total separator. It's always a separator. Over the 162 games, it's just more magnified in October. So I think they love his defense. And they love the productivity they're getting from the bat right now. And I love the energy. I love energy in a baseball player. I think it especially when you're winning, and a little swagger, a little energy, it kind of ripples through the whole team. Like when the team Phillies were going good and Victorino was on base all night running around, that energy rippled through the team. Same thing with Jimmy Rollins. Same thing with Chase Utley. Obviously, they were all good players, but their energy just it was infectious through an entire roster. And I see that in Bader, and I see a guy who's really happy to be here, happy to be on a contender. I see a guy who's happy when his teammates do well. He's only been here a couple weeks, but I mean, he is, somebody, Schwarber hits a home run, somebody does something big. He's right up on that top step, very eager to congratulate guys. He looks like he's fitting in really well. And I do think he's going to start taking down most of the reps in center field. And I think that's the way it should be. And then use Marsh, Kepler, Castellanos in some type of a rotation. And Rob Thompson's pretty good at that. I mean, at the trade deadline, we were talking about Kepler being released.
Sure.
I mean, it was the talk of the town. And, Rob Thompson, players manager, shows a lot of confidence in the guy, sticks with the guy. And now Kepler's loving him back. It was a big home run last night. He's hit a few big home runs since the All-Star break. They're picking their spots with him, and they're getting something from him. And he's a good defender in right field. So this outfield thing is, it's working. I know New York was a disaster. What happened a week before that? They took it to a really good Seattle team. It was as impressive as New York was unimpressive. That's baseball, man.
Yeah,
some weeks you're going to kick ass, and some weeks you're going to get your ass kicked.
That's something that I said, I think on yesterday or Wednesday or whatever it was. Is it's funny with this team is to me you saw probably their best and worst series of the year in effectively a week span.
Yep, and that's baseball. People hate to hear it, but it is. It's the way the game is, and part of baseball also is bouncing back. I mean, they've been swept other times this year. Pittsburgh, I think, they bounced back. Houston, they bounced back. And, big reason they're going to bounce back, I think, here is Schwarber helped them get off to a good start, and Harper and Real Muto had a big home run, and Kepler had a big home run, Bader had a big night. Nola gave you a nice effort. Great team effort. Now you got to build on it because, you got to have – you don't just have a short memory when stuff's going bad. You should have a short memory when stuff's going good. Now, you know what? Build on it and do it again tonight. Take a series. Don't try to take too big of bites. The Braves are having a tough season. Think winning the series. That's all you need to do. Think winning the series. And in the micro, think having a good inning. Think having a good at bat. Think, winning each individual battle. And that's how you put together good stretches.
Jim, you're the absolute best. Can't thank you enough for taking some time to join us. You can check out Jim's latest article for our Diehards on allphly.com. Titled After a Forgettable Series in New York, Kyle Schwarber gives Phillies fans a night they'll remember forever. You can check that out at allphly.com, and down the bottom of the screen, you can follow Jim on Twitter at Jim Salisbury215. Jim, as always, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us today.
My great pleasure. Thanks, Tyler.
All right, big thanks to our friend Jim Salisbury. Again, check out his work at allphly.com. Follow him on Twitter at Jim Salisbury215. All right, we're going to take a quick break. On the other side, we're going to get into one of the players that Jim and I had a little bit of a discussion on there, and that's Harrison Bader, who has been really, really good over the last couple of weeks. And you know me, I said at the beginning of the trade deadline, or at the trade deadline, I wasn't super excited about Harrison Bader, but he's been really good over the last couple of weeks. We'll talk more about that center field position on the other side. We still have to get into our Crank in the Heat segment, which will take a look at the National League standings like we do each and every Friday. And we'll wrap up today's show as we continue to discuss the series against the Atlanta Braves. It's the PHLY Phillies podcast. We are brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We're broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios, and we'll be right back after this. Here it was 1977. What's gone on in the last 48 years? A lot. But one thing that's been the consistent is for 48 straight years, the best-selling truck in America is the Ford F-Series. The F-150 blends work-ready toughness with modern-day tech and luxury. They offer 6 different powertrain options, including a hybrid and a fully electric Lightning model. Now, if you're going for some power, you use that 3.5-liter power boost hybrid V6. You get up to 430 horsepower with incredible towing capacity. It's the best-in-class towing, in fact, with up to 14,000 pounds of towing ability, depending on configuration. But you also get some incredible interior stuff as well, with like advanced Sync 4 system and cloud-based voice recognition and over-the-air updates. You also have incredible work interior surfaces that fold in and out that can become a desk for your truck. Right there, you can work with smart. It's smart. You can work conveniently. You don't have to get out of your truck. You're gonna have a desk right there. It's awesome. They offer max recline seats that offer nearly 180 degrees of recline. So if you're thinking about taking a break on the job, don't let your boss know, of course, but you can take a nap right there in the truck. The Ford Blue Cruise hands-free highway driving system is also available in certain trims. You have incredible options. No matter which trim and model you choose, the Ford F-150 is the truck to go with, and that's why 48 straight years Ford has been recognized as the best-selling truck in America. For more information, visit your local Ford store to check out one of these brand new Ford F-150s today. All right, thinking about buying tickets to a game? You can get into any of the 3 games this weekend at Citizens Bank Park, or how about Thursday? You know what happens Thursday. The Birds, the boys, it's back. Pro football is back, and you can get the best ticketing deals with our friends over at Game Time. You can use the Game Time app with so many different features, but my favorite feature, of course, is the 3D seat view. You can check out exactly where you're going to sit and know exactly what your view is going to look like, so there's no surprises, whether it's you're at your home stadium and you're looking for a new seat you've never been to, a road stadium that you've never been to, period. You want to see exactly how your view is going to look, especially if you're in one of the older ballparks, right? You head to Chicago, you head to Boston. Sometimes there's just structures in the way. You don't want an obstructed view. Use that 3D seat map to find exactly where you're going to sit. With Game Time, they offer incredible zone deals. They offer seat view, as I said, and it's the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. They also offer incredible ticket coverage, so your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code PHLY for $20 off. Tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, welcome back to the PHLY Phillies podcast. Tyler Zula here, Andrew Frazier with us as well, and of course you. Hello to everybody in the chat, Markel Futz, Peter Tom Wilson, everybody that's hanging out with us. Thank you so much for being a part of today's show on this Friday before the Labor Day weekend, our extended 3-day weekend. Hope you have a wonderful weekend and a chance to hang out with your friends and your family and have a day off on Monday. All right, let's get into our Cranking the Heat segment, which is brought to you by our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. Head on over to acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. This is where each and every week we take a look at the National League standings as we get into our NL pennant push, and we see who's heating up, who's cooling down, and what's going on with the National League standings. Not a whole lot of movement in the 6 teams that are playoff caliber teams right now. Let's take a look at the most recent and updated NL wildcard standings. Of course, it is still the Milwaukee Brewers at the top, 83-52. They've had a little bit of a skid. They've only won 5 of their last 10, which for them is a skid. The Dodgers and the Phillies with the exact same record at 77-57. One of those 2 teams, or one of those 2 divisions, I should say, are going to get the bye. I think it's going to be critically important. We've talked about the bye in the past, whether it's rust versus rest type of thing, but I think it's critically important for this Phillies team to win this division, not have to play a wild card game on the road or a wild card series on the road, and even further, to potentially not have to play a wild card series at all. Then you take a look at the wild card teams. The Cubs with the top spot, 76-58. The Padres just a game behind them at 75-59. The Mets, who of course swept out the Phillies, have played some better baseball as of late. They're now 72-62. They hold a 4-game lead on the Cincinnati Reds. The Giants, the Diamondbacks, both under 500. I guess you could technically say they're still in the hunt. I don't like to play that way, but I guess you could technically say that they're still in a hunt. Not a whole lot has changed in the National League standings. I think this is something that Andrew and I have talked about for a while now. The 6 teams that you see in the postseason right now are probably the 6 teams that are going to be the playoff teams. Like the Reds, I think, still may have an outside chance. They're starting to slip a little bit. The Giants have played better baseball over the last 10. I don't buy the Giants. I think they stink. I don't think the Diamondbacks are a postseason team either. So I would say there's 7 teams for 6 spots. But if you ask me right now, I'm curious your thoughts, Andrew. If you ask me right now what 6 teams are going to be the 6 National League playoff teams, I think it's the 6 teams that are currently sitting in postseason.
Yeah, I agree with you fully. It's the same teams that you see up there that are going to be the same teams that are going to be playing. I don't think that there's going to be any change here in that at all.
Let me ask you this. I know we talked a little bit about this the other day. If there was a team, let's say the Phillies win the division. Now, I still think they're going to win the division. They're 5 up right now. I think they're still going to win the division even after the slip against the Mets. If the Phillies win the division and end up as the 3 seed,
yeah,
of those 3 teams, the Cubs, the Padres, the Mets, what team do you think you would least like the Phillies to play? Because for me, it's the Padres.
I maybe just recency bias, just because of what happened
Sure.
in the last series. I wouldn't want to play the Mets, but I think
Now, what if it's the Mets at Citizens Bank Park?
Then yeah, I feel a little bit better. Obviously, I think that Citi Field is just not a place that you want to play if you're the Phillies.
Mm-hmm.
But potency wise, I think the Padres are probably the most potent team out of those 3. So I would say Padres first, Mets, then Cubs. So Cubs would be the team I'd like to play the most.
Well, and I will say this. We've talked about the Cubs a lot this year. Really potent offense. We were questioning their pitching staff, their starting rotation after Imanaga and Boyd. We haven't had a chance to talk about Cade Horton at all. Cade Horton has been incredible for the Cubs starting rotation in the second half of the year. That, to me, would be their 3. They would probably go Imanaga, Boyd, Horton.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a terrible 3 by any means. I think it's way better with those 3 than it would be with just the 2. But the Cubs were a team that you and I and Rich and VG talked about at the trade deadline. Felt like the Cubs maybe didn't do enough at the trade deadline. And I think we all thought they were going to go get a starting pitcher.
Yeah.
And I guess they technically did by getting Mike Soroka. But Soroka is still injured.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Soroka is like a swing guy. Like, if you would have said, what's a team that's going to go out and get an Alcantara type of starter? And I know Alcantara's not having a good year, but like a name.
Yeah.
The Cubs would have been right at the top of that list.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised they didn't. But they seem to really like Cade Horton, and then they go Boyd and Imanaga. And I mean, listen, you said this last week. You get to the postseason, every team's a good team.
Yeah.
They're here for a reason, right? You're just looking for what's the one flaw with any given team and how do you exploit it. And I think even with Horton pitching well, the Phillies or any team that plays the Cubs would like to attack their starting pitching.
Definitely.
But that's our take. That's our look around the National League. Really, no team that's like super heating up or cooling down right now. If you look around those teams, the Brewers 4. Sorry, I said 5-5. Brewers 4-6. Dodgers 6-4. Phillies 6-4. Cubs, Padres, Mets all 6-4 in their last 10. So like nobody's super crazy heating up. I think if you were to pick a team in all of baseball that's going in the best direction right now, I would say it's the Boston Red Sox, who are now 5.5 up in the wild card spot, 2.5 over Seattle for the final spot, 5.5 up over the Royals for that spot out. They're playing some really good baseball right now. They and the Yankees both have a significant run differential, but I think right now, if you ask me, do you think the Red Sox or the Yankees have a better chance to make a deep postseason run? I would say the Red Sox over the Yankees. I still don't trust the Yankees quite enough. Their defense is putrid. There's just something about that Yankees team I don't quite trust. All right, we are just about out of time, but before we do that, we have to pause for just another moment. We got one more break to hit. I want to quickly hit on Harrison Bader before we get out of here as well. But it's the PHLY Phillies podcast. It is brought to you by Bet365. We are broadcasting live from the Xfinity Lounge here at the PHLY studios, and we will be right back after this. All right, whether your favorite team wins or not, there's always a chance to win at BetParks with the BetParks online casino app. You don't even have to leave your house. You can do it right from the palm of your hand. You can check out all of their brand new casino games like Huff and More Puff and Fireblaze Sky Queen. It's the only app that I would ever use to play all of my favorite casino games right in the palm of your hand. Whatever your game of choice is, I've said before, I'm a blackjack guy. I like playing blackjack, but you can do roulette, craps, poker, baccarat, and of course get in on all of the hot online slots like Cash Eruption, 88 Fortunes, Cleopatra, and of course the slots that are based on your favorite streaming shows like The Walking Dead, Squid Game, Breaking Bad, Peaky Blinders, and of course all of your favorite classic casino games wherever you are. And new users can get up to $1,000 casino bonus back if you're down in the first 24 hours. Just head on over to betparks.com, download the app right now, and enjoy all of the action and excitement from the casino at your fingertips. Must be 21 in PA, New Jersey, Maryland, or Michigan for BetParks. You love to play, you play to win. That's why you BetParks. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, let me tell you about our friends over at Ace Hardware, because you know they're the helpful hardware folks, but did you know they bring the helpful hardware folks feel right to your front door all the way from Philly to the Jersey Shore? We're starting to trickle down to the end of summer, which means cooler months are on the horizon. After we get through September and October, you don't want to be left without your heater in place. If your heater is having issues, don't wait to fix it. Call our friends over at Ace Hardware and Ace Hardware Home Services. They bring incredible experience. They're local techs, local plumbers that handle everything from repairs and seasonal maintenance to installation and upgrades. They bring the understanding. They're going to listen to your goals and work with you for your best budget, for what's good for your house, what's good for your apartment, whatever it might be. They want to work with you in mind. It's service you can trust and satisfaction that is guaranteed. Head on over to Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get started on your next project. All right, PHLY Phillies podcast, Tyler Zulli, Andrew Frazier, our friends, you listening and hanging out in the chat. Thanks so much for being here. Andrew, you think Ace Hardware fixes car alarms?
I hope so.
Because there's been one that's been going on outside for like 25 minutes now.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on out there, but man, get it together.
You know, it's funny when anytime I hear the car alarm go off, just the natural instinct is like, oh, is that my car?
Every time.
And
that's why I'm sitting here.
Where it's coming from is not where our parking lot is.
But still, you're like.
And immediately you think about it.
Yeah, I was right there with you. I was like looking for my keys in my pocket.
Right.
I'm like, oh, crap, did I sit on them or something?
I feel like car alarms should have originality to them. Because they all have a similar sound.
Sure.
How do I know if it's my car or not?
I like that.
But like if Dukes of Hazzard plays.
Yeah.
Or something like that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I like that.
I'm going to know it's my car.
You can customize your horn.
Right. So if you can customize your horn, you should be able to customize your alarm system too, right?
Yeah, I believe if you have a Tesla, you're able to do that.
Like what if the alarm started playing like 96 Quite Bitter Beings by CKY, I'd be like, yeah, it's my car.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
there you go.
I think it should be something we should look into. Maybe we just hit a gold mine.
I think we did.
All right, really quickly, we only have a couple of minutes. Man, Harrison Bader's been awesome.
Yes. He has been.
We talked about it at the trade deadline. You know, I am not the biggest Harrison Bader fan, numerically speaking. I know what he does well. He plays exceptional defense. He runs the bases well. But Harrison Bader, since joining the Phillies, has been really, really good. There you see it right there. 22 games. He's only has 67 at-bats. 313 average. On-base percentage is almost 400. He's almost slugging 5. His OPS is almost at 9. 2 home runs, including the big one the other night that we thought might kickstart a comeback in Game 2. 7 extra base hits, 6 RBI, and he's got 9 hits in the last 5 games. Listen, there's a lot of blue in that baseball savant, and I understand that like his expected numbers are not quite as good as the player that he's been over the last 10 games or so. But I think that we're now getting close to a point, Andrew, where I would start playing Harrison Bader almost every day until he proved to me that he was not the everyday player that he's playing like.
Yeah.
He may have a regression. I don't think Harrison Bader is this type of player for another 30 games, for another month. But this has been enough of a sample size now, especially knowing that Rob Thompson's done a really good job of pulling the right strings. Jim brought it up, right? When to play Kepler, when to play Bader, when to play Marsh over the last 2 months, or last month basically since Bader's been on the team. I think at this point you can unleash him a little bit more. Let him play against more righties. Let him play almost closer to, maybe 5 times a week or something like that. I have to tip my cap because I feel like, I gave a lot of flack to the acquisition of Harrison Bader. He's been really good since the Phillies have acquired him.
Yeah.
Especially at the bottom of the lineup.
I mean, I was kind of in the same party as you when they got him. I was kind of like, what? Huh?
It was
Who?
an move.
Why are, I was looking for the bigger bat. I was looking
I think, yeah, sure. A lot of us were.
the more impactful player. But I mean, since he's been here, he has really shown his stuff, and he's been very impressive. And his timing at the plate, his ability to make defensive plays.
Four multi-hit nights in the last 9 games.
Yeah, man. That's stealing that home run like 2 weeks
Sure.
ago or whatnot.
Well, and that you brought up there, like the defense was always going to be there. We knew he was going to be an elite defender.
He was stout in the defense.
It was what can he provide you pop-wise, because he has had a pretty good year offensively in terms of home runs, career high, I believe it is, with 14 home runs. Or getting close to it. If it's not yet career high 16, he's getting close to his career high.
Yeah.
But the extra base hits have been there. He's hitting the ball hard. And like I said, four multi-hit nights in the last 9 days, including last night where he had 4 hits. And he's putting together really good at-bats.
Yes.
I think he's putting together some really, really good at-bats. He's working counts. He's working pitchers. The strikeout numbers have been pretty consistent. He's basically striking out once a night for the last 2 weeks. But if he's going to give you, 1 to 2 hits to combat that strikeout every night from the bottom of my lineup, I can't ask for much more.
Yeah, I mean, I think he definitely has won and deserves the everyday center field position until he shows otherwise. So throw him out there every single day.
Yeah, and maybe he takes a dip at some point, because I don't think he's a 313 player. But for this moment in this time, I tend to agree. Yeah. I think he's earned being the everyday center fielder or close to it. All right, that's going to wrap up the PHLY Phillies podcast today. Big thank you to everybody who joined. No show on Monday. We are also off for the Labor Day Monday. We'll have a video for you. We'll drop something for you in the interim. But we will not be back until Wednesday afternoon. So the Braves series will be over. The Milwaukee Brewers series will be upcoming or in the middle of it. Remember, by the way, weird Brewers series this week coming up. Phillies and Brewers play Monday. They're off Tuesday, and then they play Wednesday, Thursday. So weird series, just to keep that in mind. Big thank you to everybody who is in the chat today. Really appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Have an excellent Labor Day weekend. Of course, big thank you to Andrew Frazier for producing and co-hosting today's show, and to Jim Salisbury for joining us. Check out Jim's work at allphly.com. If you are a diehard, you have exclusive access to all of his content. And we will be back on Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock to wrap up the Brewers series and, of course, react to the Braves series. But Phillies have an opportunity to take the first 2 in this 4-game set tonight against the Atlanta Braves before they will have to face, presumably, Chris Sale on Saturday afternoon. So it should be a fun weekend. And then, of course, the Brewers on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. All right, have a great weekend. Awesome extended weekend, a Labor Day weekend. Enjoy it. Be safe. Remember, if you're having some drinks, please Uber, please rideshare, whatever it might be. Just be safe. Again, we love you. We'll talk to you on Wednesday right here on the PHLY Phillies podcast. See you.
We all silly like the mayor.